Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and hi guys, this is me Muhammad Rozaidi bin Muhammad Amin, aka Talha Wasabi, and this is my book review. Check it out. A Street Cat Named Bob by James Bowen. Even though throughout my reading of this book I found out that this book is actually written by a ghostwriter, and then about the publisher, it is published under Thomas Dunn Books, and it is an imprint of St. Martin's Press in the year 2012. A Street Cat Named Bob and How He Saved My Life is actually not just a tale about a cute, fluffy little cat that just mingle around the street. No, far beyond that, this book is actually a great story, a great narrative about a guy with a name James Bowen that is struggling with homelessness, poverty, drug addiction, and far beyond that, and even bigger than himself actually, he is struggling with how to snap out of the drug addiction himself. And in the midst of all the struggles that he's been facing, he met with a cat named Bob, and how the meeting of these two creatures finally changed James Bowen's life entirely. You guys might wonder, what makes this book really interesting to me personally? Okay, I got two reasons for that. The first one will be about the addiction itself. Yeah, drug addictions. I'm a pharmacist by profession, so during my service in government sector back in the day in 2017, I used to deal with some cases, not all, but some cases of methadone replacement therapy. And in this book, methadone replacement therapy is specifically mentioned because James Bowen is actually having some drug addiction problem and he needs to undergo that kind of therapy. It is mentioned in page 225. I quote, "The withdrawal symptoms began to kick in just after 24 hours after I had my dose of methadone. Within 8 hours of that, I was sweating profusely and feeling very twitchy. By now, it was the middle of the night and I should have been asleep. I did nod off, but I felt like I was pretty much conscious all the time. It was a strange kind of sleep, full of dreams, or more accurately, hallucinations." Okay, this is one of the reasons why I really like this book, and it tells us about the struggle of a man that is trying to snap out of drug addiction. Second of all, this book also deals with the issues of homelessness. Yeah, it is mentioned in page 27. I quote, "The answer to how people like me end up on the streets is always different, of course, but there are usually some similarities. Often drugs and alcohol play a big part in the story, but in an awful lot of instances, the road that led them to living on the streets stretches all the way back to their childhoods and their relationship with their family. That was certainly the way it was for me." So, the issue of homelessness is actually not only addressed in this particular book in Malaysia, but according to my finding and some research of mine, that there has been a couple of books written about homelessness in Malaysia, or at least available in Malaysia, and one of them is this book. Three points that can be discussed after someone read this book are: first, humanity versus cat. Yeah, it is actually depressing and surprising for me to find out that when James Bowen is busking around the street without Bob in his presence, people actually don't even care, and maybe some of them just give a penny or $1, or maybe for more than that. But when Bob is there, the presence of Bob is actually acknowledged by, I can say, most people around the streets, and this makes me sad because somehow we need to understand that human being need to be respected more than an animal, and just because that particular human being, I mean James Bowen in this case, is struggling with drug addiction, or maybe like busking or asking money, I mean not directly from people, but that doesn't mean that we can belittle him or we can disrespect him or we can ignore him compared to a cat. Yeah, this is a really sad reality that we need to consider, that we need to do some corrections in our life if we are doing this to another human being. Second point, a cat, a symbol of hope. Yeah, maybe someone somewhere around the world that read this book, and that particular person might have the same problem with James Bowen, or might have a different problem compared to James Bowen. Maybe that person will start to think that he need a cat in his life to change his life entirely, which is wrong. Yeah, for me, the cat, I mean Bob in this particular story, is just a symbol of hope in our life. We might not need a cat particularly or specifically an orange cat or what to change our life. No, but far more important than that, what we really need in our life is that hope and faith. We need hope and faith that regardless of how hard the road seems to be, don't worry, it will fruit out to be good at the end of the day. Yeah, we need that. Third point, poverty, a huge but hidden harm. Yeah, as what I've read from this book, I come to a conclusion that James Bowen is actually struggling also with poverty because he has no money, maybe because he has no job, and because of that, he's trying his best to like perform on the street, and after that, he tried to sell some newspaper, but fortunately enough for him, he met with Bob, which somehow becomes the center of attention, and Bob attracts many people around him. After James Bowen done busking on the street together with Bob, they can actually make money. But how about other homeless people? How about other people that suffering from poverty? Yeah, this book actually creates a space for us to actually like think more deeply about poverty itself and somehow relate it with homelessness and other economic problems. So don't just read this book to find out more about the cat and how cute, fluffy that cat is, but far beyond that, we need to focus on these 3 points of discussion at least, and think deeper on how we can help to make this world a better place. I will strongly recommend this book to each and every one of you out there that might not have read this book yet because of the big messages that is hidden in this book. Yeah, the message of humanity, the message of poverty, the problem of homelessness, and at the end of the day, the relationship between a man and an animal. Yeah, that is not actually connected genetically, but the relationship is actually really strong, and we need to appreciate all creatures around us. Those messages that I have mentioned before is far more than enough to make a person to read this book. That's all from me. Thank you very much.